On this vote, the ayes are 232, the nays are 197. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Congratulations.
And there we have it. Yesterday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi gaveling in the second impeachment of President Donald Trump. He is only the first president in American history to be impeached twice, and now has 50% of our history's impeachments. He was impeached by the House in a bipartisan vote yesterday for inciting the insurgency, the insurrection at the Capitol of the United States last week. We're going to cover all of this and more this morning on the AM Report. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the AM Report for HAPS News, the network of now. I'm Alex Mahajer. It is Thursday, January 14th, and it is a historic morning. Only for the first time in American history, an American president has been impeached twice. We're going to talk about all of this and all of today's top headlines this morning. We have a lot of people chiming in already, so good morning. Hello, Mark Goldman from Los Angeles. Hello. Let's see, Renee from Johnstown. Good morning. Good morning to Michelle from Cleveland. Commenter says, "You are most welcome, Madam Speaker. My second cup of coffee with Alex," says Michelle. I have not had my coffee yet. So if you guys are enjoying this on the HAPS app, website, or platform, click the award button. Let us know you're enjoying it. You can also click the Runs on Coffee award and get me a cup of coffee because I need one. I need one every morning. Hello from Reno, says Trish. Trisha, good morning from Coon Rapids. It's just all across the country, people. So let me know in the comments section, whether you're watching on HAPS, Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube. In the comment section, what do you think about this impeachment that happened yesterday? It was by and large the quickest impeachment, but it was also bipartisan. We had 10 Republicans breaking ranks from the Republican ranks to vote to impeach Donald Trump in the United States House of Representatives. And he is the first American president to be impeached twice. And these 10 House Republicans broke rank, making it a historic bipartisan vote and sending Donald Trump into his final 6 days in office here in disgrace for his role in inciting the Capitol siege last week. There's House Speaker Nancy Pelosi gaveling it in. And all in all, it was a sad day for America because we shouldn't even have to be here. And a lot of the Republicans on the floor didn't really have a coherent response or defense to this. Some said, but what about Black Lives Matter protests? You guys didn't condemn it then, which is sort of disingenuous because, the President of the United States is who we're talking about. And violence is violence. Violence is always wrong. But the President of the United States incited this violence. So the argument didn't really stick. And then to say that this is like a Democratic witch hunt when 10 of your own Republican caucus have now agreed with this impeachment. And then we were hearing yesterday that there were Republican members in tears because they believed that they should vote to impeach Donald Trump, but that they were afraid for their lives and they wouldn't. And several Democratic congressmen confirmed that was the case yesterday, that they were talking to their Republican colleagues, and that was what was being said. I have a little bit of video from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi directly after the impeachment vote. But first, I want to play one of those Republicans, Dan Newhouse. Do we have that video? I'm not sure. Well, let's hear from Nancy Pelosi first, and we'll see if we have that video of Dan Newhouse, Republican, on the House floor, sort of making waves yesterday, announcing that he would vote to impeach. But here's Nancy Pelosi after the impeachment vote.
Today, in a bipartisan way, the House demonstrated that no one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. That Donald Trump is a clear and present danger to our country, and that once again, we honored our oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help us God. And now, I sadly, and with a heart broken over what this means to our country, of a president who would incite insurrection, will sign the engrossment of the article of impeachment.
Very good comment saying there should have, that there's like a domestic violence relationship between Republicans and the Don. They were so afraid, and that fear is sort of unfounded now because Donald Trump has been deplatformed. He is, and it's unprecedented, really. The sitting U.S. president of the United States has been deemed unworthy to be able to interact with human beings on social media by these social media agencies across the board. YouTube announcing that they will ban him. Snapchat they announced. YouTube announced yesterday that they would ban him. Now we hear Snapchat will ban him probably permanently after the inauguration. So, let's see right here. There should have been more Republicans voting to impeach, says Renee. And the thing, Renee, is that there were some Republicans that voted to impeach, including the third in command of the Republican Party, Liz Cheney, who really gave cover for these other Republicans to vote to impeach. But it is unprecedented. It is unprecedented for people to cross party lines and vote to impeach a member of their own party. So that there were 10 Republicans that did it is never before seen in history, really. And here is Representative Newhouse, who announced on the floor of the House yesterday, Republican, and made some splashes, made some waves with this announcement that he would become one of 10 Congress people to vote to impeach Donald Trump. Here's Dan Newhouse.
A minute.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Madam Speaker, this is a sad day in our republic, but not as sad or disheartening as the violence we witnessed in the Capitol last Wednesday. We are all responsible. My colleagues are responsible for not condemning rioters this past year, like those who barricaded the doors of the Seattle Police Department and attempted to murder the officers inside. Others, including myself, are responsible for not speaking out sooner, before the president misinformed and inflamed a violent mob who tore down the American flag and brutally beat Capitol Police officers. Madam Speaker, we must all do better. These articles of impeachment are flawed, but I will not use process as an excuse. There is no excuse for President Trump's actions. The president took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Last week, there was a domestic threat at the door of the Capitol, and he did nothing to stop it. That is why, with a heavy heart and clear resolve, I will vote yes on these articles of impeachment.
With applause from the caucus, really. And we had a Reddit user saying, dude, earlier said Trump running in 2025. You got the dates a little mixed up, but I can see your comments. I see you guys commenting about, can he read our comments? I can see your comments. I just can't read them all because they come in from everywhere at the same time. So Facebook, Reddit, and Twitter and Periscope are all competing at the same time. But I did see that one. And look, here's one of the things that happens if Donald Trump is convicted in the Senate. The Senate can also vote to ban him from ever running from elected office ever again in the future. That vote would not require a 2/3 majority the way that the conviction vote would require. The vote to bar him from holding elected office in the future would only require 51 senators, which is very likely to happen. Very likely to happen. So now all eyes are in the Senate, and what we're hearing is that this isn't going to go up before the Senate right away. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will not reconvene the Senate because they are out on a recess. They're not set to be back till January 19th. So right before the inauguration, so Joe Biden is saying, can you please walk and chew gum at the same time? The president-elect is calling on the Senate to hold Donald Trump's impeachment trial, but also work on other critical issues. This includes a $1.5 trillion stimulus package that he plans to announce today. So you got the scoop right here on the AM report. Hasn't been announced yet. He will announce this today, according to some reporting, that He's seeking a $1.5 trillion stimulus package that will include a commitment for $1,400 direct payment stimulus checks to Americans. So $1,400 checks to all Americans is Biden's proposal. That's going to be announced today. So can you do the impeachment hearing and do this at the same time? Joe Biden's asking the Senate to walk and chew gum at the same time. The feds are sounding the alarm about more violence. The federal law enforcement officials are warning of terrorists being emboldened, domestic terrorists and foreign. After the success of the U.S. Capitol insurrection last week, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is asking people not to travel to the inauguration. Airbnb is canceling hotel reservations during inauguration, the inauguration period covering the inauguration in Washington, D.C. And we've got National Guard. The National Guard has been deployed to D.C. currently, where they are sleeping on the steps of the U.S. Capitol. And if you haven't seen this imagery, it's quite dramatic. Let's see if we can pull it up here, of members of the National Guard sleeping out in the U.S. Capitol, just camped out. And they will be there. DC has announced that it's locking down. They have been adding barricades and trying to make this as safe a next few days as possible. As we know, the FBI released a bulletin that protests were being planned in all 50 states and DC from the 16th of January through Inauguration Day. And so everyone's on high alert because there's also word that this may have been pre-planned, that this attack may have been planned, that it may have been coordinated. And Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill wants to know whether members of Congress were complicit in this. And we did cover this a little bit yesterday, but I think it bears repeating that there has been a House, members of the House, 40 members of the House have asked for an inquiry and an investigation into whether other members of Congress, particularly Congress GOP, who may have been complicit, and that the day before the Capitol insurrection, that certain members of Congress that raised flags were holding Capitol tours that may have been reconnaissance tours for the same insurrectionists that stormed the Capitol building the next day. Here's Mikey Sherrill talking about holding members of Congress accountable if they were complicit in coordinating and planning this attack on the U.S. Capitol. Mikey Sherrill.
We can't have a democracy if members of Congress are actively helping the president overturn the election results. And so not only do I intend to see that the president is removed and never runs for office again and doesn't have access to classified material, I also intend to see that those members of Congress who embedded him, those members of Congress who had groups coming through the Capitol that I saw on January 5th, a reconnaissance for the next day, those members of Congress that incited this violent crowd, those members of Congress that attempted to help our president undermine our democracy. I'm going to see that they're held accountable, and if necessary, ensure that they don't serve in Congress.
And Congress does have the authority to expel its members, and it would be unprecedented. It hasn't really happened in modern history that I can recall, but it certainly would be a necessary step. And so the feds are warning us that there could be increased violence. DC is locking down. There are these protests planned in all 50 states by who we don't know, but we know that their primary forms of communication have been stripped, and that it's a very troubling time and everyone needs to remain safe. And Pelosi is making sure that Pelosi ain't playing. She is keeping her peeps safe. She is not allowing guns to be brought to work. If you're a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, she announced that starting next week, lawmakers will face a $5,000 fine for the first offense if they refuse to go through newly installed metal detectors to enter the House chamber. The second offense will be $10,000, and the fines will be deducted right from their paychecks. Boom! Nancy Pelosi ain't playing. She is not playing. And necessary after certain members of the Republican caucus, perhaps the same Republicans that were giving Capitol tours the day before the insurrection, I can't be sure, they showed up to work after the insurrection and refused to go through the metal to show what they had in their bags when the metal detectors were going off. These are also Second Amendment wingnuts who believe that they have the right to have their gun at work. And so Pelosi's saying, no, not on my watch. You have a Second Amendment right, but that doesn't mean you have to bring your gun to work. And so she's going to institute fines for those members of Congress. And by the way, those same Republicans were hurling abuse at the Capitol police officers who work at the checkpoints for entry into the House chambers, and being totally terrible to them and refusing to comply. So if you're going to bring a gun to work, Nancy Pelosi is now saying you're going to be fined. So we'll see how that all plays out. And we've got 6 days until Joe Biden is president of the United States. And gosh, 2020 has been the longest year of all time. This has been the AM Report for Haps News, the network of Now. We are live every weekday morning with all of your quick political news and headlines to get your day started right. If you like this journalism, if you like this content, please consider sponsoring it. You can do so at haps.tv/@Alex, where you can buy me a cup of coffee or become a recurring monthly sponsor, or you can click subscribe and just get a notification every morning when we go live. Got a lot of comments. Thank you guys so much for your comments this morning. Renee gives the claps. Someone's asking me if I ever start an adult film. Sir, that is inappropriate. Of course I have. Just kidding. Does the gun restriction and fine apply only to the House and not the Senate? This would apply to the House. The Senate is a separate building. And Speaker Pelosi has a lot more authority over what happens in the House chambers, since she is the Speaker of that body. They don't wear masks either, says Michelle Alexander, and that's dangerous too. I'll note that because of that, and because of the Democratic lawmakers who've tested positive for coronavirus after being on lockdown shoulder to shoulder with GOP Congress people who refused to wear masks during the Capitol insurrection, and a couple of those Democratic lawmakers tested positive for COVID, that House Speaker Pelosi has instituted $1,000 fines if you're not wearing your mask in the House chambers. So she's cracking down. She don't got no time. She don't got the time for this funny business. But this has been the AM Report. So happy to see you all this morning. We will see you all tomorrow with Miranda Yabber, political scientist, postdoctoral scholar. She'll be here to discuss the impeachment vote and the Senate vote and break down all of this week's news on the AM Report. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.